Question number 52 on the reading portion of College Board's Test 3. Do the data in the table provide support for the author's claim that infection with varroa mites increases a honeybee's susceptibility to secondary infections? Okay, let's think about this. Does the data in the table provide support? And what's the author's claim? Let's understand what the author is saying. He's saying infection with varroa mites increases a honeybee's susceptibility to secondary infection. So the increase of varroa mites infection increases the susceptibility of fungal, virus, and other pathogens. Pathogen occurrence. I always like to read the title, read a little bit of any paragraphs or any sentences underneath the graph. That's important. Pathogen occurrence in honeybee colonies with and without colony collapse disorder. Okay. So we're just talking about the viruses and fungi that they are infected by. The table above shows for colonies with colony collapse disorder and colonies without colony collapse the percent of colonies having honeybees infected by each of the 4 pathogens and by all 4 together. Okay. Yes. A. Do the data in the table support the author's claim? Yes, it does, because the data provides evidence that the infection with a pathogen caused the colonies to undergo. Do we know the cause of why they underwent colony collapse disorder? Is the varroa mite the only reason why colonies undergo colony collapse? We don't know that. We know it's one cause, but we don't know if it's the entire cause. Does the data in the graph provide evidence that the infection caused colonies to undergo colony collapse? This is such an amazing question because it's asking us, the crux of this question is asking us to interpolate and extract information and causation that we simply do not know. This is an amazing type of question. They do this all the time in the test. They present you with a graph, a chart, and they ask you to infer and to pull more information and more meaning from the table and numbers than is actually able to be pulled and presented. The numbers are the numbers, but they don't tell us what caused what. They don't tell us how it happened. They don't tell us the details unless it's explicitly stated either in the title or in the paragraph below the chart. We don't know that the infection with a pathogen caused colony collapse. Maybe they got, maybe colony collapse caused the infection. Maybe the colony collapse, whatever that is, and that causes these bugs or these bees to get infected. So I don't know the causation. That bothers me. Don't extrapolate more information than you can. Don't infer things. Don't try to connect the dots when they're not being connected in the graph. This is a very hard question. Do the data in the table provide support for the author's claim that infection with varroa mites increases a honeybee susceptibility? Yes, it does. B, because for each pathogen, the percent of colonies infected is greater for colonies with colony collapse than without. Okay, this might be true, like this part after yes, because each pathogen, the percent of colonies is greater. Is that true? Yes, it is greater. Every single time with colony collapse, it's greater. However, does that support the author's claim that infection with varroa mites increase a honeybee susceptibility? Do we know that varroa mites were introduced into this experiment at all? Are there varroa mites anywhere in this? Are there mentions of varroa mites? Do they ever say in the passage or here that the only cause of colony collapse is varroa mites? No. This is just saying for colonies with and without colony collapse. We have no idea how they became collapsed. So this is such a good bad answer choice because it's tempting you because you look at the numbers like, well, the numbers don't lie. The numbers in this column are more than the numbers in the other column, therefore this is true. Answer the question. This is what gets the people, this is the last step in SAT reading enlightenment. It's when you don't answer the question. You think you're answering the question based on a fact when it's not answering the question at all. And this, even though B after the yes is fact, it is true that the numbers in one column are bigger than the other, this has nothing to do and does not support the author's claim that infection with varroa mites increases the honeybee susceptibility, because we don't know that this was caused by varroa mites. This is such a nasty question. B is such a good bad answer. What about C? No, it does not support the author's claim because the data do not provide evidence about bacteria as a cause of colony collapse. Bacteria? What? That might be true. That might be true. The data does not provide evidence about bacteria as the cause of colony collapse, but C is exactly the same problem I have with A. pathogens cause colony collapse or colony collapse causes people to get sick? Because the data does not provide evidence about bacteria as a cause of colony collapse. I feel like A and C are very similar to each other. It's like two sides of this, same coin. One is saying, yes, we should add it, and the other one's like, no, we shouldn't because we don't know. But why are they leading us astray by talking about bacteria as a cause? It does not provide evidence. Okay, but is that the reason why we support or do not support the author's claim that infection with varroa mites increases colony collapse? No. Whether or not the data does provide or does not provide evidence about bacteria as a cause, does that have anything to do to support the author's claim about infection of varroa mites? C is another really good bad answer, actually. Very tempting, very hard question. Because it's an answer for those who get past the A answer, and you're like, well, that's not true. You're like, oh, it must be C, because C is the exact, logical opposite of what A is going to be. That has to be the answer. It's not answering the question, though. Bacteria has nothing to do with whether varroa mites increase honeybee susceptibility to see colony collapse, or secondary infection, excuse me. What about D? No, it does not support the author's claim that infection with varroa mites increases, because the data does not indicate whether the honeybees had been infected with mites. Yes. That is the problem. We don't know whether or not the bees in this table were infected with mites. We just know that they're undergoing colony collapse. Colony collapse can be caused by many things, one including mites. But realize how D is the much stronger, more irrefutable answer than C is. Because whether or not C is true, yeah, okay, the data does not provide evidence about bacteria as the cause. Is it answering the question of supporting the author's claim that varroa mites increase honeybee susceptibility? It's like, no, it doesn't. Whether or not bacteria causes or does not cause colony collapse, that has nothing to do with wondering whether or not mites cause colony collapse. And D is the better answer because it directly addresses this one issue, which is the data does not indicate whether honeybees had been infected with mites. It doesn't. It doesn't indicate whether that's true. The answer number 52 is going to be D. Really hard question.